Welcome to Steel Beam Rally Team. I'm Tyler, and this episode is sponsored by Clark's Corvair Parts. Now, I've just spent the last 3 weeks taking my Corvair down to bare metal, doing metal repairs, filler, fiberglass, and all kinds of different stuff. And I wanted to give you guys a little look into the myriad of tools that I have used to take this car from garbage primer that was sitting out in the field into a state that it's almost ready to paint with. When you're taking your old paint or primer off your car, you're going to want something beefy, and this is the Contour SCT. Bought it from Eastwood, and this thing spins this drum really fast. It takes paint off super aggressively, and I would recommend it if you're trying to do a whole car at once. It works pretty well. One thing I noticed after a while is it actually has a trigger lock here, so you can not have to press the trigger as you're running this thing for hours and hours. It does get a little heavy. It's like an angle grinder heft in here. It does get a little heavy when you're doing like rocker panels and stuff upside down, but my gosh, does this thing take the paint off. There are two big downsides to this machine. The first one is that it is, as I said, pretty heavy to be holding above your head for hours on end or holding it sideways. The second is that the replacement drums are actually like $60 a piece from Eastwood, so they're pretty expensive. I went through about 3 of them doing the Corvair, and even though you can get them at Harbor Freight for half the price, that's still, a $100 investment in just these drums, not even thinking about anything else. This thing also clears a pretty wide swath, so if you're trying to get into more detail areas, I used an angle grinder. This one has the big wear wheel. I like these knotted ones. The knotted one gets into the pinch weld and the rocker panel really well, and other stuff like that. You can really dig in and take some material away. On the other hand, you can really dig in and take some material away. So if you have an area that is a little bit rusty, be careful, because these things will poke holes in your car. On the smaller side, you can get these little attachments for your drill. You can get the hex on the end here to attach on, and this is the same kind of, polycarbide abrasive wheel that you can get on here, but it's on size for a drill. You can get these down to a 1-inch thing at Harbor Freight. This one is from Harbor Freight, and it's pretty big sized. I think you could do some real work with this thing, and it'll last a decent amount of time. They're actually pretty inexpensive as well. As you're taking that paint off, you're going to want some personal protective equipment as well. I use a 3M respirator with a 6001 filter, and then they have these dust filters on the outside too that you can replace really inexpensively. And these things, you get, I think, 3 sets in a box. Yeah, so that works really well. You just replace them when they don't look white anymore. I use hearing protection when I have the loud stuff on, whether it's the power tools over here or the air compressor. They work really well. And of course, safety goggles. When you're running these things, especially when you don't have a guard on that, and I use a guard on mine, but this is my dad's machine here. When you don't have a guard, these things will pop out and fly out, and these little knotted wires, these things will stick into your forehead and all kinds of stuff. So be careful with that thing. That's crazy. Last thing is a good durable set of working gloves, and these are kind of the bare minimum that I would consider. It's just mechanics gloves. You can go up to like welding gloves and all kinds of leather stuff if you want to, but these things work pretty well for me, and I found that this style specifically wears a lot better than the ones that are a little bit furrier on the grips. Sometimes there are some body issues that you can't get to right away. I use this fiberglass repair kit from Napa. It's pretty easy to use, and it comes with everything. It's got the cloth in there, the resin, the hardener, and you can just kind of dive in and make it happen for yourself. I also use an acid brush, and this is really good at getting in that resin and dabbing it up and dabbing it into that cloth, getting it nice and saturated. And you can use a Bondo spreader afterward to spread that out if you need to. As you're going to smooth that stuff out, I found that this thing is really nice. This is an Ingersoll Rand 315 air sander for kind of blocking stuff out, fenders, doors, stuff like that. This thing is really sweet. It does a pretty good job of smoothing stuff out without digging in, because it has a little foam pad down there. For the replacement sandpaper, you can get the huge roll of it, which this comes off of, or you can get the stick-on. 3M Stick-It is one brand that is used for this, and it's cut the right size to stick on and everything. It's really convenient for that. Got a DA sander, random orbital sander here, and of course the little stick-on things. They're kind of like a Velcro on the bottom of that. They work really well. It's good to knock down the peaks of the primer, especially on the roll-on primer I've been using on this. This is a little detail one. I've got this as an Ingersoll Rand little die grinder, and Harbor Freight sells a cheap version that looks just like this, but it's a piece of crap and it won't last a full project. So go buy the right one, it's worth the money. And then I have a little 3M Roll-Lock disc kind of thing on there. You can get the knockoff ones on the internet as well. I have an organizer full of discs for this thing so I can keep track of them and keep track of inventory, so we can use multiple kind of grits of the sandpaper style all the way down to finer stuff. And we also have these surface prep discs that are kind of like a fiber. I found sometimes when I use the wire wheel and the angle grinder, it will kind of burnish the finish on the metal, and I can come back with a surface conditioner disc and buff that out a little bit so it's easier for the primer to stick onto it. Remember also to oil your air tools every time you use them. I oil stuff a few drops every time I start. Keeps them working for a long time. A lot of people say, oh, you have a warranty, you don't have to worry about oiling it. Who wants to go to the store and go get a new tool when their tool quits and they haven't oiled it in forever? Just oil your tools. Down here with Blockin', we have just the big Durablock. You can get these from Eastwood or whatever on the internet you want to get them. And they do a pretty good job. You can hold that kind of sandpaper down there. This is I think 80 grit from Harbor Freight, and well, you know, it's Harbor Freight. It's gonna clog up a little bit too. But these do a pretty good job of blocking. They're slightly flexible, but they're not super floppy. The problem with these is that they take a long time, and if you're not doing a little patch here or there, I would probably use that air sander. Over here we have the classic foam sanding block. Works pretty well. It's kind of squishy, and I like it. But I found something that is an interesting alternative. My dad has been using these for a little bit here today, doing his pickup bed, and he's said that these things work pretty well. These are like foam sanding blocks, but instead of just being blocks, they're actually like sandpaper in themselves. So you don't have to actually put sandpaper on them. You take that out, you can go on your finish here, and they actually do the sanding. So that's pretty interesting. We found that sometimes the sandpaper likes to clog up a little bit or get dusty. I've used this big brush, that works fine. Otherwise, if it's a little bit more stubborn, you can use a brass brush for it. I don't know. That's about what I've been using here. I'm not a professional though, and I have not done this a whole lot, so I'd be interested in knowing what you guys use. Go in the comments and share some tips and tricks for each other, because, you know, as I go through this, I'm learning a lot. I'm sure if you do this day in and day out, you're learning all kinds of cool tips and tricks and different tools. And if you're looking to work on your Corvair, you need some repair parts or some supplies, go on to Clark's Corvair Parts. It's Corvair.com. They have like the closest to factory reproduction panels you can find. They have patch panels, fiberglass panels, and you can go on there and get Port 15 and seam sealer, all kinds of stuff to complete your bodyworking projects. Really good company, a little family-owned company out east in the US, and they do a really good job. So go ahead, email them, call them, and ask them your questions about your Corvair, because they know everything about Corvairs. It's crazy. Anyway, this has been great. I'm looking forward to painting this thing. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Hopefully by that time this car will be all blue. We can enjoy the nice shiny paint on this. So thanks for watching. Press on.